There's a powder sitting on the shelf of every grocery store in America that destroys an entire ant colony in 24 hours. It costs less than $1 per application. It has been registered with the EPA as a pesticide since 1948. It kills the workers, the soldiers, the larvae, and the queen. Every single one of them. And it does it from the inside out, using the colony's own survival instincts against itself. For over a century, this was the #1 ant killer in every American household. Your great-grandmother had a box of it next to her washing machine. She did not need a phone number for a pest service. She did not need a quarterly contract. She needed a teaspoon, a bowl, and 5 minutes. Then the pest control industry turned into a $26 billion machine. And a powder that cost pennies had to disappear from public memory. They did not stop recommending it because it failed. They stopped talking about it because it worked too well. A substance that eliminates your ant problem for less than $1 cannot generate a $250 service call. And what cannot generate a service call cannot sustain a recurring revenue empire. This is the story of the cheapest, most effective ant killer ever discovered, and the billion-dollar industry that prayed you would never find this video. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to make sure this knowledge stays alive. Here we dig up what the outdoor and home industry buried. Now let me take you back to 1881, Death Valley, California, the hottest place on the surface of the earth. A prospector named Aaron Winters is living in a stone hovel carved into a hillside near Furnace Creek with his wife Rosie. Their shelter is described in historical records as a hole half hewn from rock with a thatched roof pressed against the desert hill. They are barely surviving. One night, a wandering prospector named Henry Spiller stumbles in from the desert and tells them about a strange white mineral being pulled from dry lake beds across the border in Nevada. Spiller describes crystals that look like cotton balls scattered across the salt flats. Winters freezes because he has seen those exact crystals before, littered across the marshes near his own camp. That same night, Aaron scrapes some of the white powder into a tin pan, holds a flame underneath, and watches the substance burn bright green. The green flame test, an ancient and unmistakable indicator of one specific mineral, borax. A mineral that had been transported along the Silk Road since ancient times, prized in Tibet and Central Asia for centuries before a single American prospector knew its name. Within months, a San Francisco businessman named William Tell Coleman buys the mineral rights for the entire deposit. He builds the Harmony Borax Works, the first successful commercial borax refinery in the Death Valley region. But there is a problem that almost kills the entire operation before it begins. The nearest railroad station sits 165 miles away, across some of the most brutal and waterless terrain on the North American continent. Summer temperatures in the valley regularly exceed 130 degrees Fahrenheit. There are no roads, no reliable water sources between stops, and no existing freight system capable of handling the load. Coleman commissions massive custom-built wagons, each engineered to carry 10 tons of refined borax, pulled by a team of 18 mules and 2 horses, the legendary 20-mule team. Fully loaded with 2 ore wagons and a 1,200-gallon water tank, the entire rig weighs over 36 tons. It crawls 17 miles per day through scorching desert heat. The round trip from the Borax Works to the Mojave Railroad Station takes 20 days. A new team left the works every 4 days like clockwork. And across 6 continuous years of hauling from 1883 to 1889, not a single animal was lost, and not a single wagon broke down. 20 million pounds of borax were dragged out of that furnace by mules and men. By the late 1800s, borax had become a staple in every American household. Families used it in laundry soap, toothpaste, mouthwash, ceramic glaze, skincare products, and general cleaning solutions. The 20-Mule Team brand became one of the most recognized trademarks in the country. It was showcased at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair and even appeared at the Golden Gate Bridge dedication in 1937. But there was one use of borax that the industry would eventually prefer you forget entirely. Pest control. Grandmothers across the country were mixing a spoonful of borax with a spoonful of sugar, setting it near ant trails, and watching entire colonies vanish within days. No protective equipment, no chemical hazard labels, no $300 invoice from a man in a white truck. Just a powder that cost a few cents and a recipe passed down through generations like a family heirloom. It worked so well that by 1948, the Environmental Protection Agency officially registered boric acid products as pesticides in the United States. And then something remarkable happened. In 1971, a formal scientific study was published describing the use of borax in bait form to control ants in domestic homes. By 1987, boric acid had been specifically proven effective against Pharaoh's ants in controlled laboratory conditions. By 1993, there were 189 federally registered pesticides containing borax on the EPA registry. 189 different products, all built around the same dirt-cheap mineral your great-grandmother kept under the kitchen sink. Today, the number of boric acid-based products registered in the United States has climbed past 500. But here's the part nobody talks about on television, or in the pest control pamphlets, or in those friendly brochures the exterminator leaves on your kitchen counter. Stay with me, because what comes next is where the story gets heavy. This video is just the surface of what the industry has been hiding from you. I have collected everything the pest control and outdoor industry does not want you to know, all inside the complete forbidden camping vault. Natural pest elimination methods that cost pennies and outperform commercial chemical poisons in independent testing, fire building techniques that military survival units used in the field and that are now classified as too dangerous for standard civilian instruction manuals, emergency shelter designs that cost $0 in materials and outperform $200 retail tents in every controlled field test ever conducted. DIY water filtration systems built from forest materials that engineers tested in laboratory conditions and refused to believe actually worked. Food preservation methods that keep meat and vegetables edible for months without refrigeration, electricity, or any chemical preservatives. The complete 72-hour blackout checklist that walks you step by step through every scenario a total grid failure can throw at your household. And much more. Over 10 guides in one place, no filler, no fluff, straight to the point. The link is in the description, first line. But stay right here, because the video is just getting started. Now, let me show you the science that the exterminator standing in your kitchen hopes you never learn. Here's exactly how borax kills an ant colony from the inside out. When a foraging worker ant finds the borax and sugar mixture, it does not die on contact. That is the absolute genius of this substance, and it is why surface sprays can never compete. Borax interferes with the ant's digestive system at the cellular level, slowly disrupting its metabolism and dehydrating the insect from the inside. But the process is gradual, taking 24 to 48 hours, which means the poisoned worker has plenty of time to do exactly what its biology demands: carry food back to the nest. The worker ant returns to the colony, regurgitates the contaminated sweet mixture, and feeds it directly to other workers, to the developing larvae, and ultimately to the queen herself. Scientists call this process trophallaxis, the mouth-to-mouth food-sharing behavior that holds every ant colony on the planet together. It is the same behavior that allows a single colony of 50,000 ants to function as one superorganism, sharing nutrients and chemical signals through an unbroken chain of regurgitation. This is the mechanism that makes ant colonies almost impossible to destroy with surface sprays, because sprays only kill the workers you can see. The queen, the larvae, and the deep nest remain untouched. But borax does not attack the surface, it infiltrates the supply chain, and it turns the colony's greatest evolutionary strength into its fatal vulnerability. As the foraging ants travel between the bait and the colony, they lay down pheromone trails that actively recruit even more workers to the food source. More ants come, more poison floods into the nest, and the cascade becomes completely unstoppable. The queen ingests the contaminated food, her egg production collapses, and the entire colony disintegrates from the center outward. One application, $1, total colony death. If you have made it this far, you already know more about ant control than 99% of homeowners in this country. Subscribe and share this with someone who is still paying $250 every spring for a man to spray the same active ingredient you can buy for $4 at the grocery store. Everything the pest industry buried is inside the complete vault. The link is in the description. Now stay with me, because the next vault is the heaviest one yet. And if you are wondering whether borax actually works against the specific species crawling across your kitchen counter, let me put this to rest right now. Borax is lethal to carpenter ants, odorous house ants, pavement ants, sugar ants, fire ants, and Argentine ants. Every single species that sends workers out foraging for food is vulnerable, because every ant species on Earth shares food through the exact same biological mechanism. The National Pest Management Association conducted a nationwide survey of pest professionals and confirmed that 100% of respondents had treated ant infestations that year. Carpenter ants topped the list at 66%, followed by odorous house ants at 62%, and pavement ants at 59%. And more than half of those professionals admitted that infestations are growing across the country, year over year. Here are numbers that should make every homeowner in America angry. About 50% of all American households deal with an ant problem every single year, making ants the #1 pest in the entire United States. Not cockroaches, not mice, not termites. Ants. Scientists estimate there are 20 quadrillion ants living on this planet right now. That is a 20 followed by 15 zeros. The average single colony contains anywhere from 10,000 to 500,000 individual workers, all connected through the same food-sharing network that one spoonful of borax can completely dismantle from the inside. Across all generations, more than 80% of millennials, Generation X, and baby boomers reported that ants and wasps are their top pest concern in and around their homes. 80% of every generation of homeowners, all fighting the same insect, all being funneled toward the same expensive quarterly service contracts. Now, here's where the story turns from science to something much darker. So why is every homeowner not simply using borax? Why does a $26 billion pest control industry exist to solve a problem that a $4 box of powder already solved more than a century ago? Because you cannot build a subscription business around a product the customer only needs to buy once. The entire pest control business model is engineered around one single concept: recurring revenue. Industry analysts have confirmed that the average pest control company generates between 70 and 85% of its total annual revenue from monthly or quarterly service agreements, not one-time permanent solutions. Ongoing contracts that bill your credit card every single quarter for the rest of your home ownership. Think very carefully about what that means for the advice they give you when they walk through your front door. The company that shows up does not profit by solving your ant problem permanently. It profits by managing your ant problem indefinitely, just well enough that you keep renewing, but never well enough that you stop calling. A one-time borax application that wipes out the colony in 24 hours is the single worst possible outcome for their bottom line. The average American homeowner pays between $150 and $300 for a single professional treatment visit. Severe carpenter ant infestations can run as high as $1,400 for a single intervention. And most exterminators recommend quarterly service plans costing $400 to $500 per year, every year, for as long as you own the house. Over a 10-year period, that is $4,000 to $5,000 spent on a problem that a handful of white powder and a teaspoon of sugar could have solved on the very first day. Now multiply that by the 65 million American households that deal with ant problems. You start to understand why the industry prayed you would never see this video. You cannot patent borax. It is a naturally occurring mineral pulled straight from the earth. You cannot create a proprietary formulation that forces the customer to repurchase every season. You cannot generate product dependence when the solution sits on the same shelf as laundry detergent and costs less than a cup of coffee. The entire economic architecture of the pest control industry requires customers who do not know what their grandparents already knew. Borax represents everything that model is designed to suppress. It is cheap, it is natural, it is universally available at every store in every town in every state. And it works the first time, permanently. So it had to be repositioned, not banned outright, because that would have raised too many questions. Just quietly buried under an avalanche of branded products, professional licensing requirements, state certification programs, and multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns designed to convince the average homeowner that killing ants is a job for a trained specialist. It is not. The pest control industry spent decades building a wall of complexity around a problem that your grandmother solved with a mixing bowl. Let me tear that wall down for you right now. Here is exactly what to do, step by step. Go to any grocery store, hardware store, or pharmacy and pick up a box of 20 Mule Team Borax. It costs about $4, and a single box will last you years of ant treatments across multiple seasons. In a small clean bowl, combine 1 tablespoon of borax with 3 tablespoons of regular white granulated sugar. The ratio is critical, and I need you to pay attention here. 3 parts sugar to 1 part borax. Too much borax and the ants will detect something is wrong with the food and refuse the bait entirely. Too little borax and the workers will survive long enough for the colony to adapt and recover. 3 to 1 is the proven sweet spot that researchers, university entomologists, and even commercial pest product manufacturers have relied on for decades. Now add approximately 1/4 cup of warm water to the bowl. Stir slowly until both the sugar and the borax are completely dissolved into a clear, viscous syrup, roughly the consistency of pancake batter. Take clean cotton balls and soak them thoroughly in the mixture. Place these saturated cotton balls directly along the ant trails you have spotted in your kitchen, bathroom, along baseboards, under cabinets, or near any visible entry point. If the ants in your home seem to prefer proteins over sweets, which some species do seasonally, mix 1 tablespoon of borax with 2 tablespoons of peanut butter instead. Form it into a thick paste and place small amounts on pieces of wax paper or inside plastic bottle caps near the activity zones. Now, here's the most important rule of this entire process, and it is the one that separates success from failure. Do not kill the ants you see walking to the bait. I know the instinct is to squish them or spray them, but you must resist it completely. This is where 90% of people fail, and it is exactly what the pest industry counts on. If you kill the foraging workers or spray them with a contact pesticide, you destroy the delivery mechanism. The colony survives underground. The queen keeps producing thousands of eggs per day, and you end up calling the exterminator out of frustration, which is precisely how their business model works. Leave the workers alive, let them feast on the sugar syrup, and let them carry that sweet, toxic payload straight into the heart of the nest. Within hours, you will actually see more ants than before, swarming the bait station in thick, organized lines. This is not failure. This is total victory in motion. They are recruiting the entire colony's workforce, laying pheromone highways directly to your trap, summoning every available body to the poison buffet. By the next morning, the trail will slow to a trickle. By 48 hours, the colony is in full collapse. The queen has ingested the contaminated food, her egg production is shut down, and the remaining workers are scattered and disoriented, unable to find chemical signals to follow. Refresh the bait once more after a few days to catch any stragglers or satellite colonies, and the job is done. One homeowner in the South reported that after 3 full years of paying a quarterly pest service, he set out the borax mixture on a Friday night and had 0 ant activity by Sunday morning. His annual pest bill had been over $500. His borax application cost him roughly 12 cents. Now I need to be transparent with you about something, because honesty is what separates this channel from the industry that profits from your confusion. Borax is classified as low toxicity for humans and household pets, but it is not completely harmless if swallowed in large quantities. The EPA considers it safe for household use, but you should still take basic precautions. Keep bait stations out of reach of small children and animals. Use enclosed containers like plastic bottle caps placed behind appliances or inside cabinets where only ants can crawl inside. And always wash your hands thoroughly after handling the mixture. This is still a pesticide, even though it is a naturally occurring mineral, but compared to the synthetic chemical cocktails that professional exterminators routinely spray across your kitchen countertops, inside your wall cavities, and along the baseboards where your children and pets crawl, borax carries one of the lowest toxicity profiles of any registered pesticide in the entire country. This knowledge did not disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because a $26 billion industry needed it to. Every single spring, half of all American households wage the exact same war that their great-grandparents already won with a spoonful of white powder from the laundry shelf. The ants did not change. The powder did not change. The only thing that changed was who profits from your ignorance. Borax is still sitting on that shelf right now, still $4, still waiting for you to remember what they spent billions making you forget. If this video made a difference, subscribe and share it with every homeowner you know who is still writing quarterly checks to an exterminator for a problem their grandmother solved for free. Every share preserves what the industry tried to erase from public memory. Every subscription keeps this vault open for the next person who needs it. The next vault opens soon, and what the industry hid inside that one is even heavier.